Thank you. Oh, she's stunning. Oops, I turned it around. Hey guys. So I know it's been a while since my last studio vlog. 3 weeks. Yikes. So I feel like before we get too much into this one, I owe you guys a recap. Okay, so my original comic idea is based off a concept I came up with in middle school. So in the first studio vlog, I took the time to redesign some characters to make them actually, you know, good. Then in the second studio vlog, we did some pre-production work, like creating our summary. We also tried to come up with a name for the comic, but we had a little trouble, so I'll talk more about that later. And then finally, in the third vlog, we started working on the first episode, and I'm happy to say, we finished it. Woohoo! Before we get into more comic-related updates, I bought this paper-like rip-off screen protector, and I did it unboxing, so I thought it'd be fun to show that to you guys. It's very chaotic. There's paint all over this desk, so disregard that. But yay! Let's get into it. I'm hoping this thing comes with one of those, like, wipes, because my iPad is dirty. I don't want to have to, like, clean it myself. Probably shouldn't show any QR codes. I don't know. Oh, whatever this is. Fancy. Doop. Oh yes! Wipes. These are what I wanted. Okay, I don't know what any of this stuff does. I've tried to apply a screen protector once before in my life, and it was awful. There were bubbles all over the place, so I just took it off. Okay. Place the positioning sticker on the back of the tablet. Okay, now I need to find a positioning sticker, which I'm guessing has to be in here. Oh, they came with 2, in case you mess one up, I guess. Okay. This doesn't look like a positioning sticker. These instructions are so complicated. Am I supposed to have a positioning sticker? What is that? What does that even mean? Dust remover sticker? That's a different thing. ASMR. Okay. No, here it is, positioning sticker. Okay, luckily, despite the initial confusion, I did get the screen protector on. I did end up putting it, like, on, like, backwards? Not backwards, but, like, the part where there's a cutout, like, where you're supposed to put the camera, I put on the wrong side accidentally, but it doesn't really matter because nobody uses their iPad to take pictures anyway. Now, why has it been so long since my last vlog? I've been busy, guys, I've been busy. Really, look at all this footage. Look at all this stuff I've been doing. And look at my hair. Isn't she pretty? Yes, a little commotion. Yes. It looks nice, doesn't it? Thank you. But don't fret, I have not neglected my comic. I have in fact been working on it, and I have lots of stuff I want to talk to you guys about. I have so much to update and share, so let's jump right into it. Okay, so while I was working on my comic, I came across some really bad news. I didn't realize that Webtoon Canvas, which is the site where anyone can submit their comic, has restrictions as to how many megabytes your comic can be, which limits like colors and gradients and stuff, but they also limit each episode to 100 800 by 1280 pixel slices. And when I tell you that isn't a lot, it really isn't a lot. Because I didn't realize this restriction, I unintentionally planned to make all my episodes far too long, so when I tried to put my episode 1 into the app just to preview what it would look like on a phone, like half of it got cut off, which was terrifying. But in the end, I came up with a workaround. I basically just split episode 1 into episodes 1 and 2, with some changes to make the transitions, like, smoother. Unfortunately, that means I won't get nearly as far into the story as I had hoped, but I suppose it's a bit of a blessing in disguise because I'm basically done with episode 2 because I thought that content was going to be in episode 1, you know? These restrictions are really stifling my creative vision, but whatever. I just need to make do with what I'm given. Unfortunately, that means I think in my last episode I said that we'll get some Eric character development, and I know some of you guys were really excited about that because we really have some Eric sims, especially in the Discord. But because of my miscalculation of how long these episodes can be, I'm sad to say that we won't get nearly as much Eric as I'd hoped, so I'm really sorry about that. Oh, and while I have you guys here in this voiceover, I did have something I wanted to talk about. It seems like in the comment section of every single studio vlog, someone asks me like my process of how I scripted my comic, and I keep replying to them saying, oh, I'll talk about it in a video, and then I just keep not talking about it in a video, and I'm really sorry about that. So today I'm going to divulge how I scripted my comic. Okay, so a little counterintuitive, I did not make a script. The way I planned out my comic is kind of like how board-driven animated shows are made. So in the animation industry, they make like outlines of what happens in each episode, and then the storyboard artists are the ones that pace it and write the jokes and write the dialogues. So that's pretty much what I did here. I made a rough outline of what each episode was going to be, and then I wrote the dialogue and planned the panels and stuff like that during my thumbnail phase. And for those that don't know, thumbnails when you're drawing are kind of just like storyboards, just rough, quick drawings of what I'm thinking. So for anyone that asks me for scripting advice, if you want a full-blown script that like has each panel and dialogue bubble planned, I'm the wrong person to ask. But if you've tried scripting in the past like I have and you found it just hasn't worked for you, I really recommend this strategy, I guess. Like, make an outline and then just roughly draw that outline. Okay, so I'm happy to share that I have 2 more pieces of fan art to share with you guys. Yay! They're so good. They're so pretty. This one is from my friend, The Insane Cryptid. And this one's by Loyalty, who has a webcomic called Watch Me that you should definitely check out. Link in the description. If you want to send something as well, once again, join my Discord. It's the only way. So now I'm just showing some clips of a little outing I went on with my family. It was very chill, very fun. I was a little productive during brunch, and I'm just using this as some B-roll while I speak on the troubles I've come across thus far while working on my first real attempt at a comic. Now obviously this isn't my first time trying to make a comic, as you guys got to see some snippets of the original version of this story, and even without that I've dabbled in comics as a young artist a lot, but this being a contest as well as me documenting my journey here on YouTube really makes this feel legit. When people say comics or webcomics are hard, they aren't lying, and I'm using 3D models as backgrounds. Imagine drawing all the backgrounds yourself. Couldn't be me. To everyone that opted to do that, you have all my respect, truly. I know I would straight up not finish if I had to draw all of them. And I'm not saying I didn't draw any backgrounds. I drew most of the backgrounds in the first episode because it took place outside, but every single scene that's inside a building, I've been using a model. Anyway, let's get back to my challenges. Besides the fact that Webtoon Canvas has a size limit that I wasn't aware of, I'm really struggling with not making every panel a full-blown illustration and keeping things simple. Hence why certain panels are taking way longer than I think they should. I mean, of course you want a couple money shots per episode. I think there should be specific panels that look better than the others, but making every single panel stunning and to the best of your ability both takes away from the money shots that are actually supposed to be like better than the rest, but it also creates a false and unsustainable expectation from your audience that every episode is going to look like that, even though you couldn't possibly reproduce that level of quality if you needed to make an episode every week, which is what would happen if you became a Webtoon original. Oh, little side tangent, I think I'm gonna try to make my 3rd episode all in 1 week while filming that struggle. I say struggle because episode 1 took me like 5 weeks and episode 2 took me 3, so trying to make episode 3 in 1 week will be hard and maybe even impossible, but I think it'll be necessary practice if for some reason my comic becomes one of the winners and I get a deal with Webtoon. If every single episode takes me more than a week to make, then again, that's unsustainable. Another issue of mine is motivation. I feel like I was so motivated making episode 1, especially with the 2 studio vlogs I had out at that time fueling my ambition, but instead of continuing to move in high gear, I've been slowing down progress-wise considerably, which is crazy because this is the time that I really need to crunch. I even feel like I might be teetering on the edge of giving myself burnout, but I really just want to push through it and deal with the consequences once my comic is out in the world. I know I have a whole video on burnout and why pushing through it is bad and blah 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 blah, but you know what? Do as I say and not what I do. I feel like finishing this comic in a timely manner is more important than my stupid mental health. So hustle life for life, I'm gonna get this done, trust. And the last big issue I've been dealing with is comparison. I know, comparison is the thief of joy, but honestly, it's not even the other contest participants that I'm comparing myself with. I've been reading a ton of them, specifically in my genre, most gripping, and let me tell you, I've found some real gems, and I've subscribed to them and rated them 10 out of 10. Being a Webtoon canvas creator really feels like a tight-knit community, and I would never wish down on anyone that clearly works just as hard or harder than me to show their story to the world. So it's not really jealousy towards other contest participants that I'm feeling. No, I found myself comparing my art to Webtoon originals and feeling like disappointed in myself. Now, I do really think it's a good idea to use originals as reference and try your best to match their quality of paneling and storytelling, clarity, things like that, but I really do believe comparing the art does no good. And I'm not even comparing myself to other comics that are made by one person. I'm comparing my art to comics made by Korean studios, you know, whole teams of people. And that's gotta be the absolute worst way to go about this whole comparison thing, because it makes absolutely no sense. Of course, a comic made by a group of 5 professionals looks better than mine. It's just kind of hard to wrap my mind around that when I'm in the moment, you know? Anyway, these were just some of my whees and woes, and while I'm sure I have more that I can't think of at the moment, all in all, this journey has been very fulfilling for me as an artist and trying something new, although I do still think I prefer animating to comics, even though they have many overlapping similarities that draw me to both, like the storytelling aspect. Okay, here's the list of things I need to do to finish my comic, not in order. Number 1. Finish episode 2, which we're making very good progress on. I should have it done this week probably. Number 2, finish episode 3. I'm really gonna have to grind in order to finish this because while the contest doesn't, I have until May 15th technically to submit it, I would love to submit it sometime in April if that's possible. I really hope it is. Number 3, design the title card thing. Again, I made this one in the pre-production video, but we ended up changing the name, so now I need to make a new one. And then I also need to finish the cover art. I was working on one of the last vlog, however, I think I'm gonna ditch it and make a new one, cause I would like the cover to have all the characters on it, or at least Nora and Gray. Oh, and also I know some people were asking, but I am planning on dropping all 3 episodes at once, as opposed to spreading them out. So no, I'm not going to be releasing the first episode yet, even though I would love to. So I do in fact have a lot to get done by May 15th, but I believe in us, we can do it. It also helps that I have so many of you guys holding me accountable, especially on my Discord server, which everyone watching this video is definitely welcome to join. Link in the description. Okay, so I saved the biggest talking point for last. I know we had a lot of back and forth about the name of the comic, and I really appreciate your guys' feedback. It really gave me a lot to think about. So in the last studio vlog, I did say that I was leaning towards the name Unghost, but I also liked the name Haunted Luck, so I asked you guys for your feedback to let me know what you thought. In the end, you guys overwhelmingly liked the name Haunted Luck more than Unghost. Which makes sense. Even to me, I feel like the name Haunted Luck just sounds a lot prettier, you know? It rolls off the tongue. It's just a really nice name. I even googled the term Haunted Luck and it fits perfectly with Gray's situation. It was it almost seems meant to be. So I was trying to figure out what about the name, did I not like about it? you know? Because there was something about the name that like I just couldn't get behind. And after taking some time to contemplate it, I think I decided that Haunted Luck is a great name, but it's a great name for a different comic. Haunted Luck would be a great name for a comic that's about a kid who's haunted and like is trying to stop being haunted or something. But that's not what my story is about. You know, that's certainly part of Gray's story, you know, and it's a very important part of the first act of the first arc, I guess, of the series. Hence why it's the hook in the summary, because it's something that's relevant very early on, and I think it's an interesting plot point that can get people hooked. However, and I did mention it, but I feel like I might have downplayed the fact that this is in fact an ensemble cast. So any title that contains the word luck or anything like that feels too Gray-centric, and like it feels like it's downplaying everything else that's gonna happen in the series. The series isn't overarchingly about a kid who gets haunted. It's about a group of kids in a ghost club that fight ghosts and develop and grow and learn and stuff, you know? Hence why the original title was Ghost Hunters, but we already established the problem with the name Ghost Hunters, and so I think that's why I really like the name Unghost. It's unique. I looked it up. I don't see anything else with Unghost, and I think it's ambiguous while also giving the supernatural vibes that I want. That's also why I didn't really vibe with any of the comic name suggestions that had Gray's name in it, because you know, it's not, Gray is a big character, but I don't want it to be named after him, you know? And naming the story Haunted Luck felt like naming the whole series off of something that's important for half of the series. You know? And obviously I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just not what I want to focus on, if that makes sense, for like naming the whole show, you know? I'll give you an example. Have any of you guys seen the show Glee? Probably not. I love the show. TLDR, it's just about like a bunch of kids in a Glee club. Well, for some of it, eventually they go off to college and stuff, but it's basically about a bunch of kids in the Glee club and just all the shenanigans and drama that ensues in that club, and it's the best thing ever. And there is a main character. Rachel Berry is the main character. However, the show is still also very much an ensemble cast, and it being called Glee makes sense because it doesn't focus too much on one character while still letting you know the gist that it's about a Glee club, you know? Like if Glee was called Rachel's Audition, right? That's kind of what Haunted Luck is giving to me. Like if Glee was called Rachel's Audition, that like downplays all the other theatrics in that show. So that's kind of my thought process on that. So I am set on Unghost. I had 3 weeks to think about it, and I don't believe myself to change my mind. And I know a lot of you guys really liked Haunted Luck again, but you know, it's just not the right name for my thing. But it's still a great name. But I am going with Unghost. If you're in my Discord, then you already knew this. We've been calling it Unghost in there, but I just wanted to set the record straight that I did, in fact, make my decision. I think that was all I had to say for this video. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, night, evening, or afternoon. Bye bye!